The Game Schooler podcast is a weekly audio show that educates new and experienced gamers about the awesomeness of tabletop gaming. In this week's episode, we'll cover Dreadful Meadows, our game of the week, feature Lucky Duck Games for a publisher spotlight in the School of Gaming, and wrap it up by revealing our high five game set in ancient times. Welcome to the Game Schooler podcast. I'm your host, Doug Kotecki, along with my co-host, Dr. Michael McCabe. How's it going, Michael?
What's happening, Doug? How are you?
I am good. I am excited for a good show here and excited to get rolling.
Yeah, why are you setting the bar low? Why just a good show? Can't we have a great show? Best show ever?
Could be one of those. Okay. We'll see.
We'll see. Well,
I'll hold judgment.
I know you do all of our editing and everything, so maybe we'll just settle for good show it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's have a good show.
Technically, hopefully everything goes smoothly. Let's
you do
hope
a lot,
for that.
Man.
Any follow-up from last week?
I do.
Right.
I have last week's game of the week was Rebirth, and I have a few things I want to clean up. So they are all on the Ireland side of the map. What I failed to really explain is how the public objectives work, and I'm not going to go into that much during the cleanup, as I want to tell our listeners the public objectives on the Ireland side of the map, Doug, really blow the game wide open. And so that was something that I wanted to make clear. There's some tiles that are added that can impact how scoring works, but those public objectives really open it up. So going forward, if I were to play with my game group, with you, with friends, I'd start on the Ireland side, and with my family, I'd play on the Scotland side. And like, we didn't even get through a full play of Ireland because we kept getting kind of bouncing off of things. But that was the one thing that I really wanted to clean up. I went back and I listened to our segment. I was like, man, I got way too lost on just how beautiful the map is of Ireland, and didn't really say what I meant to say. So I wanted to clean that up.
So when you say open up, you are referring to it being a little bit more crunchier and for more experienced gamers, or are you just talking about the idea of the objectives being open so there's more public fighting amongst people?
Yes, both. The objectives, I think, and again, I haven't had repeated plays with our game group, but I would imagine you could have a runaway leader on the Ireland side that would never be there on Scotland. If you and I played Scotland 10 times, we're probably going to be within 5 to 8 points of each other. Yeah, 8 out of the 10 times. It's going to be a very close game. The objectives magnify some of the scoring opportunities, especially when they're combined with those tile multipliers that go next to buildings. So that was the one thing that it was a little too much for my kiddos. And
sure.
I think had I just stuck with the Scotland side of the map, we probably would have gotten all the way through it.
Yeah.
But there's something there, and I also am just following up directly with you that I think in future plays of that game, it might be worth checking out to see, All
right, cool.
Yeah.
So we seem to get a lot of love from the high five list of A games. And
Yep.
I've loved seeing people have started putting on the Discord their list of their high five A games. So it seems like we're going to have to move on to B sooner than maybe we thought. We thought about spacing them out quite a bit, but there seems to be, and you
time.
seem to, you enjoyed it, right?
I loved it. It was great. No, I had that part of my follow-up as well. People were shocked that Azul was not in my high five.
I was shocked Azul was not in your top 5.
I think it just has to do with
it's just a
lot
crappy
of other
game.
Games. Azul's amazing, Doug. I should have put it at number 1 just to hold it over your head now. That was the one I was actually vacillating on going into the segment. You could see me like, I don't know, how can I not put this in my high five? But I took 11 games into that list that could have easily been in the high five. So I'm excited to go through the alphabet on that journey with you, Doug. I was cynical and even resistant, and now I'm excited.
And now he's full board.
Yeah.
The other thing, too, is I want to briefly address the kind of the elephant in the room of the hobby, which is the tariff situation going on. And Michael and I have talked about this quite a bit off air. And the thing about it is we're just not in a good position to talk about that expertly. We're not the experts in that subject. There are a bunch of other people that have done articles and there's information out there. So if you're looking for that type of news, you're not going to find it here. We may address it occasionally from time to time, but if
we
you're
may
looking,
have other experts on to address it.
correct,
I mean,
yes,
at some point that could happen, at our Publisher Spotlight series or for interviewing designers, but it's not an area that I feel confidently talking about. I can opine, I could surmise, I could have, conjecture, but I'm not working in the industry. I've never had to deal with importing a game at the port. That's just not something.
And it's obviously an issue that's bigger than just our hobby. So rather than dwelling on negative or where people may lie politically, that's just not what we do on this show. And we're going to continue to focus on what's awesome in gaming, which is the games that we have to play now and have been in front of us for a while. So does that make sense, Michael? Have I overstepped or overshared any boundaries there? Good to keep in?
Oh, no. I mean, the tariffs are real. You cannot look at Board Game Geek, listen to a podcast, talk to a designer or publisher without it coming up. And for folks who are working in it, I can imagine that it's all consuming. It's the same way if you work in a school system and you have a referendum coming up, like you have these moments in time that you have employees that you may have to let go of. You have programs that you may have to cut. You have to make really tough decisions based on different political factors and the budget that you have. So no, I don't think you overstepped or said anything. I hope I didn't just there.
It's constantly changing variables, and there's a lot of moving parts. And for us to dabble our toes into it and pretend like we know what we're talking about would be disingenuous. So, we want you to know that we know it's going on. We're not oblivious to the fact that is a very big issue in the hobby right now. We just don't want to dwell on it or overanalyze it.
And I don't feel confident enough to talk about it. I'll speak for me.
Exactly.
I don't. Yeah. If I'm talking about something on the show, it's because I've played the game. I want to play the game. I think that there could be some skills that can be developed through repeated plays of the game. I'm excited about something in the hobby. I wonder about something in the hobby. I am learning and reading and investigating the same way that everybody else is.
Yeah,
I don't have.
We can talk.
Yeah,
we can talk on a voice of authority on our game of the week this week or our spotlight. We can't talk with a voice of authority on that topic. So we'll leave that up to the experts and move on. Is there anything else that you have for follow-up, Michael?
I have one other one, and it's quick. Board Game Geek nominations are out, so go vote. And I want to thank everybody that voted for us for Podcast of the Year. We didn't crack the top 10 or however many are nominated. That's okay. There's some great shows on there. I know who I will be voting for Podcast of the Year. I'm not going to, I don't ever share who I vote for, but
like the Academy.
And games, light games of the year, hobby game, all those. It's just, I do like how Board Game Geek does it with the nominations, and then right away they let you know who the nominations are, and I think it brings a nice little focus to our hobby. So let's go support the good folks over there with a vote if you got it.
All right. Well, what about what's awesome in gaming, Michael?
Yeah, I came in with two things. I think they're both going to surprise you. So I'll do one, I'll send it back to you, and then I can do another. But prepping for the show, Doug, we're in the midst of a 4-week stretch where I own all the games of the week and many of the spotlights, and it's been fun to play the game solo when possible, or include my family when possible, and even have a few partial plays here or there. My 9-year-old's really jumped into a few different games and taken on the role of young reviewer somewhat seriously. Like, how much are you going to pay me for this hour of work, Dad?
Yeah.
So that it's been a lot of fun to prepare for the show the last few weeks, and looking forward the next few weeks, and really put a focus on the games, on the individual games. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, and mine is interesting because you talk about it a little bit, sharing, and this doesn't necessarily apply to just young gamers, but I've had a couple of moments over the past couple weeks where it is really awesome to see wheels turn when people play games for the first time. And so I was introducing a game that I had set up at the table, and then a couple days later, I was filming some footage for a game, and it was explaining to my daughter how it worked, and I could see her, wheels spinning of like, oh, okay, I see how that works, and the engagement on that level, and it's that turning of a corner when you're teaching, especially non-gamers. You sit down, you play a game with them, and you get through the teach, and there's that little moment of like, glazed over, like, okay, I'm not really sure, and then you like play one round and you can tell that they're hooked, and they're like, oh, now I see what I have to do, and then you can actually see them starting to maneuver and play the game and be engrossed in the game, as opposed to being an active participant, as opposed to just sitting there and like
saying, what do I have to do now?
Yeah, what happens? So that moment when that light bulb kicks on is one of the coolest parts of our hobby, whether it's with young gamers that are like, oh, I can see how that, you can see, I could see my daughter visualizing, oh, that's how the game plays, even though we weren't playing it.
Yeah.
Like she could, get that in her mind. But there's also that moment of joy that comes from showing somebody a new game and it clicking, the moment that they click, and you can almost see it. It's like a little spark. And they're like, all right, they're in. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to turn into a gamer and open up an account on Board Game Geek, but it's like, all right, we're having this experience together. And
but
I think
you're having that
that's
experience,
cool.
and you're making that memory. Now they have that memory of, oh, what was that game that we played, Uncle Doug? What was that one game called? And maybe that only happens 2 or 3 times a year, but you multiply that over 10, 15 years with 10 or 15 different groups of people, and it really is what makes our hobby special, is that when the moments arrive and you get to share a table with somebody, and that this might be the one time that they're going to play a game like this year. Yeah, that's great. And I love what you said there too about the moment that things click for the person and they start to play the game.
Yeah.
Because to me, that is the sign of, oh, this is a game of the week. This is something we can absolutely talk to our listeners about. People are capable of playing the game, not having the game play them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. What's your other shocking awesomeness?
Doug, I explored and learned 2 new games this weekend, and I had to choose my words very carefully. I didn't play both of them, but I explored and learned 2 games this weekend that had been sitting on my shelf for 3 to 4 years and shrink. And it was one of those things where it was, I thought you and I were going to have a game day together. I thought my wife and I might have a date together. And it was one of those things where I'm just kind of sitting there twiddling my thumbs. It's like, well, I could do work for my day job, or I could open up and play this game. And then there was the guilt of, these games shouldn't be sitting in my house unplayed. Like, if I'm not going to play them, go to Noble Knight or trade them, but they need to get into somebody else's house. And they were Mind Management, which is a game that I don't know we'll talk about a whole lot about on the show, but it's a little one versus many with some deduction in there. Awesome. It was awesome. Played the training mode, and then I opened up and explored Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion.
Okay.
And that my first foray into the Gloomhaven universe, my brother-in-law has been pressuring me to play. He wants to run a game on Sunday nights, and you got to play, get your other buddy to play. We'll play on Steam. He's got this whole elaborate system set up in his head that I'm sure he can execute. So I wanted to see what was going on with that, especially with the second edition coming out this year. And if only we were full-time, Doug, and could play a campaign game all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's so many good campaign games out there right now. So many in my house, so many in your house. So those were, I mean, that's awesome. Just to be able to explore a new games that have been sitting in my house for 1,000 days, but they felt brand new to me. Just that sense of wonder and awe and learning. So.
Yeah, Gloomhaven is one that I had I don't know if it was the second or the original, it must have been the second Kickstarter that I got on, and I had it, and it was one of those things where we were coming off of playing a lot of Descent and another dungeon crawl, and it never got played. And it was like, I don't know when I'm going to have time to play this. And as you said, the amount of campaign games and things that require multiple sessions and really learning a system, just like, yeah, this is one, as much as I wanted to try it at the time, I just had to cut bait on it. Yeah.
Well, and one went on my solo shelf to come back to Gloomhaven, and the other one went on a shelf to play with people because I played it solo. I was like, I absolutely want to explore mind management more. So that was fun. That was awesome.
All right. Well, our spotlight this week is Cat Lady from AEG, published in 2017. The art and the designer is Josh Wood, who also designed Let's Go to Japan. This is for 2 to 4 players, and it's about 15 to 30 minutes, ages 8+, and I think that's about accurate. Board Game Geek and the side of the box are in congruence on that one. Cat Lady is a game about drafting and collecting cats. However, it's mostly safe and non-allergenic, and you should be able to keep your wits about you. In Cat Lady, players draft cards from the central play area 3 at a time, and after selecting cards, immediately move the cat token to mark the row or column that you selected and refill the cards. The cat token prevents the next player from taking all the new cards. They must pick a different row or column unless you have acquired a spray bottle card throughout the game, which you can use to move the cat token to either block the next player or open up opportunities for yourself. What type of cards are you collecting? Cats, of course, along with the food to feed them, costume, toys, catnip, and spray bottles. And don't forget about the stray cats that may wander home with you. Throughout the game, you can trade in lost cat cards you've collected to find a stray cat or score victory points. The game ends when the deck runs out and players begin scoring. You'll score points for every fed cat and lose points for every malnourished cat. Some cats even provide end-of-game bonuses. The player with the most cat costumes scores 6 points, while any player without a cat costume loses 2 points. Toys score more victory points based on the number of unique toy types you collect. And lastly, if you have enough, catnip gives you more points per fed cat. The player with the most points is the winner. In Cat Lady, collecting cats and keeping them happy is great, but it's a slippery slope. Before you know it, you're surrounded by a bunch of hungry cats and clinging to your sanity. I'm sure you'll be fine. So that is how you play Cat Lady. This game moves fast.
Very fast.
And to me, this game is the only thing I didn't mention there in the description is there is a 3x3 grid of 9 cards that you're selecting 3 from, a row or a column. And a hallmark of every great drafting game is that you can't do everything and that you should want every card. There's a reason to have every card that's out there, and this game does that. Even when I was just, milling about with the game, and it's like, oh, I want this row, and I want that row, and I want this food from that one, and this food from the other one, but that cat that's in another row or column, and you can't always do everything that you want. And I think that's what makes some drafting games really good, is everything has to be appealing on some level, and a risk of, ooh, that cat is worth a lot of points, but I hope I get enough chicken to feed it by the time the game ends. That risk reward is what makes drafting games great, and Cat Lady does an awesome job of that.
Yeah, and then the other thing that happens with it, you're stuck with some cards that you may not want on that initial turn, but then those are your cats now. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
cats that you didn't want to pick up 2 turns ago, and you realize, well, I only have 6 to 8 turns left in the game. How am I going to take care of those cats and use that to my advantage?
Yeah.
So I also really like that aspect of the puzzle. It's not just that risk reward in the draft. It's also making do with what you picked up early game and making it fit for late game as well.
Sure. Yeah, and there's that conundrum of just on the basic level of, do I acquire food or the cats? Because sometimes there's tuna and chicken and milk, and sometimes you can get 2 of them with a single turn. And so those are appealing, but then like I may not have the cats for that food yet, but by the end of the game maybe I will, and vice versa. As I've got cats and I'm waiting for those foods to come up, and they maybe don't, or they don't come up in the combination, and it's really simple to get up and running and playing. And I think the simplistic art really facilitates the gameplay in this one. It services it well. And I could see a game going with much more detailed art and different cats on every card, and really going that either dog park route or the wingspan type of thing. But the simplistic art in this game, I think, is what makes it work, because you're not getting caught up you're not getting distracted by cluttered cards. They're all very simple and easy to read.
Yeah, I'm thinking that through. You said a lot there. The art is awesome and goes right with the gameplay. And I just got that vibe of an adult in their early 20s, right? And who's just trying to take care of their cats.
Yeah.
And I can't afford Best Sobel art, so these are the cats that you get in this game, right? So it is funny how that art plays right into the game. But at the end of playing, I am so impressed with what is in that box every single time I've played it.
Yeah.
It's so fast paced. It is so easy to teach. I mean, this past summer, I taught it to my oldest kid. We were at a board game cafe just waiting for our coffee drinks to be made. And I said, we'll play this quick. And I could see the eye roll like, yeah, you're actually going to teach me a game. We're going to play quick. And he's like, no. Trust me. I'm just going to 3 cards here, 3 cards here, 3 cards there. Okay, take a row or a column. And then we were off and running. And it was a great time, a great experience. I think that what's in is it like 108 cards or something like that?
Yeah, sounds about right.
But what's in that at the front end of the draft is like, oh, I know this is going to come up. So I'll just go ahead and take these cats here and I'll get them fed. And then at the back end of the draft, it's like, oh, I have no idea what's left. I can't keep track. And am I going to get them fed or not? So there's that sense of hope and then despair in a 10-minute, 15-minute drafting game.
Yeah.
I just absolutely love how that's in there.
Well, and a great drafting game that doesn't require passing of cards and hidden information. It's all out and public. You don't need to decide which cats are going to get fed until the end of the game. So, maybe you were working on one, but another one comes along that's worth more points that you're able to kind of shuffle things around. So I like that. And it's a game that I think when it first came out, I dismissed it a little bit. And then, as we played it and came back around to it, was like, no, this is really good. And it does what it does really well. That I think maybe in the time that this game came out to now, some games have gotten so complicated and there's so much stuff going on and different levers and things like that, this going back to this one now just is so refreshing how simple but rewarding it is.
Yeah, and I hadn't played this until after I'd played Let's Go to Japan. So I had Santa Monica. I love Let's Go to Japan. That's been a game of the week. So this was the third game that I'd played by this designer, Josh Wood. And I was kind of a little shocked when I played. I was like, how did I not get to this sooner?
Yeah.
This is a 15-minute drafting game. To me, it's the next step up. If somebody's looking for a variation from Sushi Go, it's as simple as that. But the set collection piece is the figuring out how you're going to feed all your animals by the end of the game. So I love that rotating prioritization that happens, especially when one of the cards that I needed disappears when the person who went just before me, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, I'll be able to get some chicken. I'll be able to get some chicken. And then I see, oh, you just took chicken. Oh, what? Both the chicken are gone and there's no chicken left.
Or the chicken comes out and it's in the row that's blocked that you can't take.
You can't get to it. Yeah.
So it's like, oh, is there another way to get that one? Things like that. So, and the other thing I'll throw out there is that you don't have to love cats to like this game. I'm allergic to cats. I have a dog, not a cat. But it's still a great game, regardless of whether you like cats or not. Anything else you want to throw out there, Michael?
Yeah, I just think it's a brilliant card game combining drafting and set collection, and Josh Wood did a great job here.
Yeah, so that is our spotlight this week. That is Cat Lady from AEG and designer Josh Wood. All right, before we move on, I want to encourage everybody to sign up for the Game Schooler Discord. That's gameschooler.com/Discord. And continue to watch, subscribe, and like our videos on YouTube. We really appreciate that. Leave comments. We're happy to respond to you there as well. Continue to spread the word about the podcast. We appreciate that, and it helps us a lot. And if you have any questions or comments, reach out to us. Email at gameschooler.com. Again, email at gameschooler.com. Now let's move on to the game of the week.
The game of the week. The game of the week is an in-depth look at a family-friendly game we think you should try if you get the chance. This week's game is Dreadful Meadows, designed by Lucas Adam with development by Shem Phillips and published by Arcus Games. Released in 2023, playtime of an hour or less, 1 to 4 players, ages 13 plus by the publisher rating and 10 plus by Board Game Geek. Doug, give us the overview.
Are you ready to harvest the most ghoulish candy? In Dreadful Meadows, players compete as confectioners, growing sinister seeds to create the most bountiful candy crops through crafty candy patch placement. Each player starts the game as a confectioner with a powerful special ability and 2 candy patches placed based on turn order. On their turn, players take one of 4 possible actions. Players may spend candy to purchase and add new patches to their field, place sugar sprites to generate candy on adjacent patches, purchase and place a harvester to increase candy production, or retrieve, place sugar sprites to trigger bonuses and ready them for placement again. Lastly, you can use candy to fulfill concoction cards for endgame points at any point during your turn. The tricky part about Dreadful Meadows is that each patch can only hold one component at a time, and candy spent to buy new patches, purchase harvesters, and fulfill concoctions come directly from your field without receiving change if you overpay. The game also rewards you for putting patches of the same type together in clusters. The game ends when only one harvester is left, the bag of patches is empty, or players have drawn all the concoction cards. Players earn points for completed concoction cards, harvesters based on patch value, and points for each patch in a harvester cluster, and any remaining candy you have. The player with the most points wins. So, can you plant, sow, and harvest the finest confections from your tasty terrain, or will your candy get thrown away uneaten 3 months after Halloween? So that is how you play Dreadful Meadows. Michael, what do you like about the gameplay?
I love the fun puzzle and the abrupt ending. This is a game that, Board Game Geek says plays in an hour, but I think it's 30 to 60 minutes is the range. But that really varies based on the different characters that people are playing with in the game and how the flow is going. I feel like, oh my goodness, I have one turn left. I thought I'd be able to do 2 or 3 more things. And that abrupt ending has happened every time. And I mean, even if I'm playing solo, I still feel like I should have 2 or 3 more moves.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things happening in the game that I really enjoy. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think with 4 simple actions, this game is easy to explain and teach and get up and going. It's a game that I talked about a couple weeks ago when we talked about games with really powerful abilities. And this one, the characters feel like they're breaking the game and seem so overpowered while you're playing.
But they break them equally.
Yes,
and so it's
of
been
course,
balanced and developed well, so that although, Jack is able to purchase any of the tiles without paying the extra fee, you might think like, oh my goodness, that's awesome. Well, while Jack is pulling tiles out of there, another character, Leaf, is able to place sprites into a patch containing other sprites, and it's like, whoa, that I want both those abilities. So they tend to balance each other out.
Yeah, I think the interesting choices in this game come in when am I going to take that suboptimal move to set myself up for an amazing move. That's what I really like about this game, because there are some turns where you're like, okay, I wish I could put a sprite here and really maximize it, but I can't. I've got to pull some off, or maybe I want to get this sprite out there so then I can pull all of my sprites off on a single turn and get a whole bunch of bonus actions. But there are those kind of setup turns, and it's really a tricky puzzle, because essentially you want to produce more candy, but you can't produce more candy until you spend or allot the candy that you've already produced somewhere else. Otherwise, you don't have any place to put the candy. So it's a unique thing in that regard, where there is no hand or resource pool. It's not like you're collecting candy and it all sits in front of you and it's like, oh, I'll pay 5 for that. No, they stay in your field and you spend them from your field, whether you're fulfilling a concoction card or paying for new patches. You pick them out of your field and then pay for them. Each different type of candy has a set value attached to it, either 1 to 5, depending on what type of candy it is. So there's so many little levers to balance, which I really like. Am I filling up a cluster of lower value patches that are producing cheaper candy, but I can get a bunch of them? Or am I saving up to get bigger patches? All of those type of things, and how you manage that is really what's intriguing to me in this game.
Yeah, well said. And I don't want to go too deep on the solo end, but I do want to let our listeners know this game plays fantastically solo. It really does. And the only thing that changes, each of the characters that you're playing against have their own special ability. So let me get her. Sorry, I should know these characters. But Nina, whenever she takes a harvester, she's going to get an extra turn. And so playing it solo, they're pulling tiles, usually about 1 tile per turn. And whenever they've pulled 4 tiles of the same type, they're taking a harvester. And it really feels like I get the full game experience. And there aren't many set collection worker. A lot of times those worker placement solo games, those are long. You're talking like, 2 hours or 5 hours in the Dropper's Edge case. And here's a game that in 30 minutes, I get the full feeling of that worker placement, working the economy in a solo game. The one thing that can I ask you a direct question now? Because this is where I feel like we're going to have a little bit of a variance here, because you're much smarter than me.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm kind of... Talk to me about the retrieving sprites and the worker placement, because I think that adds a big layer of complexity when you're trying to teach this game to kids. There's 5 different sprites, and they are your workers, right? And when you bring them back,
You have 3.
you have 3 workers, but there's 5 different types of
patches.
sprites. Yes, when you bring them back from the patch, that's going to activate a specific ability, and I think it's that piece that I love as a gamer. And I had this in my things to be aware of, so I probably should have waited until we got there on the script. But for me, that's the one added layer of complexity that really prevents me from, playing this game with my 9 and 12-year-old.
I can see that. I think it's something that you don't get. I think it's a little bit irrelevant until you're really familiar with the game. Is kind of where I put that. Where I would, if I'm teaching this to younger players, I would only worry about that when they are retrieving the sprites.
And then you would just tell them what they get to do?
Yes.
Okay.
Because even as an experienced gamer and somebody that's played the game, the idea of where you place a sprite for the bonus that you're getting of getting more candy out on the board compared to what you're getting when you remove it is something as an adult gamer is hard to keep track of. And I don't necessarily know that it's certainly a big part of the game of in-depth strategy, but you can only control it so much. It's like as much as I would like to put it on here to get that ability, I'm not going to do that if it's not going to give me any candy. So I think although it can be really heady at that area, I think my course of action would just be to kind of say, you get special bonuses when you remove these, and we'll go through them when you take them off, when you want to get them back, but not really upfronting that.
Okay.
I would just say one of your things is to bring your sprites back so you can put them back out on the board again as an action. And when they take that, then we'll go, patch by
Go
patch.
through it at the time. That's a good way to do it. That's a really good way to do it. Glad I brought that up.
All right, so moving on to the production, I think the artwork is fun and bright. Everything is laid out very clearly, how much things cost and what they're worth. I think the art is almost how you would imagine The Nightmare Before Christmas if Pixar had created it instead of Tim Burton.
Yeah.
It's kind of a cross between Coco and The Nightmare Before Christmas. The insert is really nice. The components work well.
I don't know how the production could be improved. This is a 10 out of 10 for me for production. What's in the box, I mean, the insert is designed to be able to just dump it upside down and put it right on the table and get up and play. Black Magic is the person who designed the insert, and they just did a fantastic job with it.
The pieces are the right size for my fingers and the patches. There's nothing that's like oversized. There's like, I can't fit any of this stuff on the board. The player aid is really good for this game. It's so streamlined. It's funny how much a good player aid can make a game so much easier to teach, and just like, here's your 4 actions. And then those sprite things we talked about, when you take back your sprites, the patches, this is what they do.
It's all right on the cards. Like you have here are the 4 phases. Here they are outlined. Go ahead. I interrupted you, Doug.
No, I was just going to say that then, that just here, look at this and you're all set to go,
Yeah, the other thing that I really do enjoy with repeated plays, you can just kind of look across the table and very quickly scan and comprehend what the other person is doing with their patches. And I think that goes right back to the production. You don't have these little tiny micro machine patches. You also don't have like gigantic coaster size where it's uncomfortable to play the game, right? It sprawls, but it sprawls in a comfortable way, almost like think of a placemat at a restaurant. That's basically where your patch is going to be contained to. So for me, again, I just think production's a 10 out of 10 for Dreadful Meadows.
Yeah, I agree. As far as things to be aware of, there is a deluxe version and a retail version of this game. The deluxe version is the one that's featured in this video. It has screen printed candy on the deluxe version, where it's just wooden candy in the retail version. cardboard harvesters as opposed to acrylic in the deluxe version. I believe one of the characters, I think that leaf that you mentioned, might be exclusive to the deluxe version. And I'm not sure about the insert on the retail version as well. There's not a bunch of information on the retail version of this online. Anything else to be aware of on this one?
Yeah, I have a couple of things to be aware of, but it may just be me, but I've been playing this quite a bit lately, so I want to share my thoughts. I did not get this taught to my kids. I would put the complexity slightly higher than Flamecraft, at least for me and in my house. And my collection is bursting with contract order fulfillment games, and it's a competitive space. There's a lot of them. Yet Dreadful Meadows is one that I will gladly keep in my home and in my collection, even if I haven't gotten it played with my kiddos yet, because I love the puzzle that happens in under an hour. Maybe others, the way that Doug's phrased it, it's probably a lot simpler than what I'm making it out to be, but I think I love the different choices that you have with the different 4 actions. We haven't talked a whole lot about placing the harvester, but that's a whole nother little mini game in itself. But all that to say, I agree with 13 plus in the publisher. I agree with it wholeheartedly. I think that's spot on. And the art, when I first saw the game and when I first played it, I had more of like a 10 plus vibe. But that's kind of where I sit with Dreadful Meadows. I love what they've done. I love what's in the package here, and I hope it gets some love and some increased publicity and has a nice long life.
Yeah, that's interesting. I feel like I'm going more towards that 10 plus in the way that a lot of times we talk about a game that, sure, a 10-year-old can play this, but they're not going to get all of the benefits out of this. I think a 10-year-old can play this game and will enjoy it, even without getting the full breadth of what kind of rabbit holes you can go on down if you're really engaged. And I don't know if playing the solo mode where you can really dive in and spend a bunch of time.
It can be jaded there.
Ruminating about how I could put it here. In the course of a game with multiple players, that's not really happening that much. The market is moving fairly quickly. You kind of have a good idea of what action you're going to take, and the idea of you kind of want to put the similar patches next to each other. So a lot of those things that can become complicated if you really, really start thinking about them. I would put very similar to a thing like Ticket to Ride. Like, you can make Ticket to Ride really super mathy if you want to, of I could do this, or go here, or do this. But in practice, I just don't see it being played that way.
Yeah, but I think because of the options that you have in the game, the closest comp that I have to this is a Gnome Hollow, one that we've recently played, one that I've recently played in my house with my kiddos, is that you have a few different things you can do on your turn. It's not just, get cards or place route. And it's having that added third and even fourth choice that I think.
But I feel like this is easy. Like, this is simpler than Gnome Hollow because the actions are so varied. When it's like, you're either going to buy stuff from the market, you're either, essentially for most of the game, you're either buying stuff to get new patches or putting a sprite out to get more candy. And those are your main 2 ones. The other ones, buying a harvester and retrieving the sprites you're just getting back to put back out again. So for me, and I could be way off base, but for me, this seems logically more simple to get rolling than, okay, grab tiles, match them up here, see how they go. You're going to get flower. Like, they're all disjointed, where these are all servicing the same goal of getting more candy. For me, anyway.
I get that. I see that. And I think that's where there is some variance. If publishers saying 13 plus and Board Game Geek saying 10 plus, I could see both sides of that.
Yeah.
How about skills, Doug?
Well, I think there's definitely resource management is a huge one. a game that boosts a player's capacity to efficiently and effectively oversee available assets, how you use those in your fields, when they open up, when are you going to spend them, which I think piggybacks into one of my favorite skills, which is logistics, a game that allows players to manage the flow of production flow between the point of origin and consumption. So I need to get the patches in, I need to get candy on them, and then how am I using those for concoction cards? Am I using that candy to buy more patches? All of those type of things is a really good workflow for me that I enjoy. How about you?
Yeah, that's awesome. I have two other skills. Strategic thinking, a game that encourages players to develop a process or long-term strategy for accomplishing a goal. That's how we define that skill. In the initial assignment in the game, not assignment, but you're going to get two patches, right? You're going to get a tree card and one other patch. And so there's that, and it's based on turn order. And I think that's one of the balancing design parts of the game that is really awesome. But you also get to take a peek at what's in the marketplace and just thinking about, what am I going to do here? How's this going to go? And then the first time you go to the marketplace and purchase, deciding where to put those tiles down so that they either connect and make a bigger patch of the trickle teeth, or if it's, I want to get into the pumpkin pops over there. You know what I mean? I need to combine two of those together because the end game scoring, if you have a bigger patch of pumpkin pops and if you can get a harvester down there, I love that sense of strategic thinking that this game brings, especially in under an hour, because the harvesters come out when you have a tile that is completely surrounded. And they are in the shape of like a baseball diamond, right? So you got to get 4 other patches around this one patch, and then you plunk the harvester down. And there's just some strategic thinking that's involved in that. And then the other one, I don't think you mentioned spatial perception, did you?
Nope, it is on my list, though.
Yep, go ahead.
It's a game that strengthens a player's understanding of the spatial relationships with the objects in their environment and themselves. And, when you're playing those patches out, where you're putting them, why you're putting them there, whether it's to make a patch bigger or even just to add that 4th side so you can purchase a harvester, and the harvesters cost whatever patches are surrounding where you want to put the harvester. So some interesting thought there, and just when you put the sprite out, okay, if I put a sprite out here, where is that going to put the candy out? Adjacent spaces to where you put the sprite, and then those can cascade off of harvesters. Harvesters kind of extend the ability of your sprites to jump from fields to field type of thing. So there's a lot of spatial perception going on in this one.
Yeah, and that's why I plugged it right in there with the strategic thinking, because it's not just where you get the tiles down, it's not just where you get the workers down to produce candy, it's not just how you pull the workers back to those little abilities that are in there. The last one skill I just want to talk about, and I've talked about it a lot recently, but I have competition down here, Doug. But, we define competition as a game that develops healthy competitive habits as 2 or more parties compete for a goal or reward that isn't shared. I feel like I'm always setting my high score when I play Dreadful Meadows. Like, I just feel like, I did awesome. I can't wait to see how this connected. Wait, 46? I know I scored higher than 46. And so there's a sense of competitiveness, not necessarily against other players, but really against myself and the game. And it's different in Dreadful Meadows than it is in other competitive contract fulfillment games I've played recently. There's just a very nice push and pull as I'm trying to get more candy out and score points.
All right, cool. So what are your final thoughts on this one, Michael?
Yeah, my final thought is Dreadful Meadows is a fun puzzle with incredible production and unique theme. The abrupt ending results in the game being left set up on my table for repeated plays for weeks on end.
Yeah, cool. I have Dreadful Meadows may not be the game that you think it is. It's not fully a farming game. It's not fully a candy game, and it's not fully horrifying, but it is a great mixture of rewarding decisions in a sweetly wrapped package. So that is our game of the week, Dreadful Meadows from Arcus Games.
The School of Gaming. In the School of Gaming, we discuss concepts, keywords, etiquette, and helpful ideas in the world of gaming. This week, we're fortunate to have a Publisher Spotlight series, and we are joined by Risa Petrone from Lucky Duck Games. Welcome to the Game Schooler podcast, Risa.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Cool. Well, before we start, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and Lucky Duck and where they are? I know they've had some acquisitions and things of that nature. So get us up to speed before we dive into some games.
Sure. So I'm Risa. I'm the marketing specialist for Lucky Duck Games. I've been there since Gen Con of 2024, which was actually my first day on the job. So there's hitting the ground running, and then there's that.
Nothing like getting thrown into the deep end. Yikes.
I know, it was crazy, but it was so much fun. Luckily, it wasn't my first Gen Con, so at least I kind of knew what to expect.
Yeah.
So I've been with them since August. Lucky Duck is really a fantastic place. I've been in the board game world for about 5 years now, and before that, I was a school teacher and
What'd you teach?
I taught first and second grade.
Oh, bless your heart.
Thank you for your service.
Unbelievable.
I taught in New York first and second, and then I moved to Florida and I taught fifth, and that's when I left teaching. And I don't know if it was the fifth graders or Florida that did it for me.
One of them did you in, huh?
Yep, it was the 1-2 punch. But no, because of that, I was the type of teacher who always liked having games in my classroom, not just for like centers, but kids learn by playing. That's what they do. So I knew when I was looking for a new career that I wanted it to have to do with gaming, and I got lucky enough to get into this space, and it's been amazing ever since. And something I appreciate about Lucky Duck is they have their digital hybrid games like Chronicles of Crime, Destinies, Divinus, Chiriki, which are a nice intro for kids because they're app based as well. So you're playing your board game, but you also have your phone with you, and you can scan certain things and learn stuff on the app. And it's a nice way for, you don't have to get off your phone. Say get off your phone and come hang out with the all of us in the family. It's okay. You can have your phone, but still come hang out with the family. And then from there, then you can move on to other games, and that door is opened for a whole new generation of players.
Awesome. And then Lucky Duck is now part of Goliath Games?
Yes. So we were acquired by Goliath in April of 2024, and our full acquisition has just taken place. And basically, the great thing about it is that they kind of came to us, and this was before I joined the team, so I kind of learned this during my onboarding, but they basically said, we don't know anything about hobby games. You guys seem to be doing a great job. So keep doing what you're doing. We're going to let you do what you do and just do it for us. So as far as an acquisition goes, it's been pretty painless. They've kind of just said, this is how you do it. Great. How can we support you? How can we make this work? And especially at a time like this, that's really appreciated, to have that kind of trust and that kind of support.
Cool. All right. Well, let us know what games Lucky Duck has out or has coming out that you want to highlight that you think our listeners would like to hear about.
Great.
Or you'd like our listeners to hear about, rather.
I think that you'll like it, but I also would like you to know. So we'll do both. But the first one I'll start with is what I just mentioned, Chiriki. Now my voice is quiet because I'm behind a box. So Chiriki is our digital hybrid game similar to Chronicles of Crime or Destinies, but it's specifically geared towards families. You play as a group of teenagers on a deserted island, and your goal is to kind of explore, and I'll show the first part of the map. And without getting too deep into spoilers, you will unlock other parts of the map. But I'm not going to show you because, the great thing about this game is that it's all full of spoilers. The bad thing about this game is that it's all full of spoilers. So it's very hard to market.
I'll
Sure.
bet.
Yep. So I would recommend it for people who enjoy escape rooms, or those kind of games, because the way I describe it, it's not so much a game as an experience.
Mm,
You're not going to starve to death on the island or freeze to death or anything like that. You're not going to go into a cave and get eaten by a bear. Your goal is to get off the island, and your win condition is kind of how well you do it. You find a lot of secrets on the island. You take things, for instance, I have an axe. And on the map, I see an area with trees. I try to use my axe on the trees, and now I have some logs.
Nice.
Now, what can I combine with those logs? If I combine the logs and some giant leaves, now maybe I've got a shelter that I can use, things like that. As somebody who watches Survivor, I had so much fun playing it with it because I was like, oh, I know how to make fire. I need flint and I need tinder. I can do this. And I'm like digging around for flint and trying to figure it out. So, for a game that's marketed towards families, I would say if you're an adventurous sort of person, you're going to enjoy it even without the kids. I had a blast playing it.
so, and that's cooperative?
Yes, it's fully
Okay.
cooperative, and it plays 1 to 4 players. But you can, play in groups if you have more than like, oh, we'll both play the red player or something like
Yeah.
that.
So it sounds kind of like a cross between Chronicle Kids and uh, Destinies, right?
Yes. Yeah,
So kind
it
of a
is.
marriage of those two things.
Yep, and it's very straightforward, which I appreciate too. You start playing and you immediately know what to do. I didn't look at the rule book unless it said, look this up. Um, you're exploring, everything makes perfect sense as you're playing. And it's a really fun experience. I keep using the word experience.
And is it out and available now?
It is. It came out in December of last year. It's available in friendly local game stores. It's available on our website. And it is definitely worth it. $30 and worth every penny.
Wonderful.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah. So let's move on to this one will be nice and short. This one came out in January. This is called My Shelfie the Dice Game. I don't know if you're familiar with the original My Shelfie. Yeah,
Very familiar.
okay.
Love it.
So this is a roll and write version of the game. And I love one, it's got a cool little box that just opens. It's got like a little magnet and it opens right up. Nothing much in it. You get four
There's plenty in
player
it.
boards. Yep, 4 player boards, 4 markers, and a thing to wipe it down and a dice. And basically, it's the same thing. You're going to roll and you're going to try Yahtzee style, roll up to 3 times. You're trying to fill out all your different areas, all your different collections that you have. And the first person to fill out 3 of the rows ends the game. You score it up. It's a great, fast teach. I took this to uh, Thanksgiving because I had an early copy of it. And my family enjoyed playing it. We played 2 rounds of it because they picked it up really fast. This is 20 minutes to play it, 2 to 4 players, fast and easy, and easy to play again.
Yeah, I like that. My only complaint about the original one was just the setup between rounds. So
Yes.
being able to just dive right into that seems very appealing.
Yeah, we're looking forward to putting that one through its paces here very soon. So,
Yeah. Yeah, you'll see, honestly, my personal play style is very much a get it on the table and get playing type of person. I struggle with reading a lot of rule books. I enjoy when people teach me games. So for me, if I'm going to bring something, I'm like, listen, I need 5 minutes of your time max, and then we're going to be playing. So, same thing with Tariki, My Shelfie the Dice Game. Get it on the table, get it going. And I love that.
Awesome.
Speaking of get it on the table and get it going, we have backstories.
mm,
This one is the Emerald Wedding Anniversary, which is our second in the line. This one came out in beginning of this month, April. You can find this at Barnes& Noble, friendly local game stores, website, etc. I also have the original, Alone Under the Ice. And this is a choose your own adventure solo game. It says cooperative, it says 1 to 6 players. I played it cooperative. If you don't mind arguing with each other about what choices to make, play it cooperative. Uh, I played it. I played it on the plane ride home, and I had more fun because I don't like to work with other people. So in this game, there's specifically a moment with ice pick, and if you've played the game, you're familiar with it, where people are like, "Use the ice pick, use the ice pick." I'm like, I don't want to use the ice pick. So, but there's
so
always that one
what are
person.
you doing in backstories?
So Backstories we call it similar to a point and click adventure game. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to have different scenes. Let me see if I can pull some out
Yeah.
real fast.
Just don't use the ice pick while we're on
Don't
air.
use the ice pick.
All right.
Fine.
All right. Good.
All right. So you'll see that you have different scenes in the game. So for this one, it's a guy leaning on a counter and hanging out. And then you have different options, different cards that say like chat or talk or search or gather the room. And there's different cutouts in each of the cards. So what you do is you place it on the back and flip it around, and then you only see that part of the back of the card. So you only read that part.
Mm.
And so this one, you talk to the guy, and the guy says, "Yeah, I've heard of this, of your missing brother," which is the story in that particular one, is you're searching for your missing brother. He says, "Yeah, I just have to go get the keys to my locker. Can you guard my stuff?" And then the scene will change and the guy will disappear, and you'll pull a new card where the guy's not in it anymore. And then you can't chat to anybody. So in both of them, you have that kind of opportunity to progress a story how you want to. In Alone Under the Ice, you have the opportunity to steal an ice pick from somebody and use that ice pick on whoever you want. The game even tells you, are you really sure you want to use an ice pick on this guy? So at least they know when you're like, kind of like when you play a video game and you're like, I'm just going to be the most chaotic possible.
Yeah. You get a little warning before you go full chaotic evil on people, huh?
But hey, it's replayable. So sometimes, if you want to play the chaotic evil route, do it.
Yeah.
I can't, but more power to those who can.
Well, and I think does the new one have like disguises that you can put on characters
Yes.
and things like that, which
Cool.
I thought looked really cool.
You've done your research. So in this one, let me see if I can find his face. Where is he? Should have had this ready.
No, I put you on the spot.
It's okay. Here he is. Okay. So in this game, in Emerald Wedding Anniversary, you're playing as Agent Nyx. And this particular game, you have disguises.
Whoa,
So
like Tom
now
Cruise
you'll have
mask.
Michael Falcone. Yeah. So there's a couple of different ones. You can do the Clark Kent and wear glasses. And this one, you're like a older gentleman who's in some kind of military. There's a bunch of different disguises you can have because you're playing a secret agent. And that's part of a secret agent's life, is disguises.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems
So
like
these
there's a lot in there.
I know there's so many cards. It's amazing how much of a story you can get with literally just cards. 150 cards in Emerald Wedding Anniversary and 128 in Alone Under the Ice. So
Nice.
and
Awesome.
it's $15.
Cool.
Yeah. And the last one I want to talk about briefly is Critter Kitchen,
Oh yeah.
which I feel like at this point listeners are aware of, so I won't go too
Yeah,
crazy.
it's Game of the Week in episode 217. So in the not too far off future.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Back to
Yeah.
you, Risa.
No, it's all good. Are you kidding? No, please do my job. Talk about it for me. No, Critter Kitchen is published by Cardboard Alchemy, who also did Flamecraft. And it's the same artist as Flamecraft, Sandara Tang. So you can kind of see a little combination between this and the dragons of that world. But in this one, you're playing as restaurateurs in Bistro Bay. And there's a restaurant critic coming at the end of the week. And you have to go out and get the best ingredients to impress that chef. And at the same time, you kind of have to feed everybody else who already lives in Bistro Bay. So you have a couple of different ways to get your victory points, either by impressing the people in the town or impressing the critic. And you have 3 different workers that you can send out, 3 different chefs. We have the mouse, who moves very quickly but can only carry 1 item, the lizard, who moves a little slower and can carry 2, and the boar, who moves the slowest but can carry 3. So you're playing with the other players and going, okay, I could send my boar out because I want all those ingredients, but if someone else sends their lizard and gets ahead of me, I'm not going to get them. So you have to figure out what everybody else is going to do.
Yeah. No, it's a phenomenal game.
Yep.
We're excited to talk about it.
Yep. This is one of my been a highly anticipated game for a long time that we've talked about in several episodes, and when we got it and played it, it exceeded expectations. So looking forward to talking about that one in just 2 weeks.
Great. Looking forward to listening about it. This is a really fun one. I've gotten this one to my table multiple times with different groups, and they all seem to really enjoy it.
Yeah,
So
easy to teach too, isn't it? Get it up and running. Yeah,
get it on the table and get it going.
good.
I tend to teach through the first round of, okay, just decide where you want to go. What things do you want to pick up? Choose your card and decide where you're going. Okay, here's how it goes. And it moves very quickly.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I really enjoy. We have a really great, am I supposed to say this? Yes, of course, but I do genuinely believe we have a really great lineup in 2025. We have
Awesome.
really great games.
Yeah.
Speaking of, if you'll let me, I can share a little bit more about some things coming down
We
the pipe.
would love to hear that, Risa.
Yeah.
Breaking news.
Seriously, I don't think, no, we're not announcing it till Friday, so you guys get literally the first at it. So in August at Gen Con, we are going to be releasing 2 different games. One is We're Sinking, which is a pirate-themed game. It was on Kickstarter, and the cool thing about this game is there is a literal pirate ship on the board, and it sinks. It's made out of 4 pieces, and as you go, the ship will sink. You take the bottom piece out and drop it so it sinks into the game board.
Cool.
You are playing as pirates who your ultimate goal is don't let the ship sink. So you have to work together to not let the ship sink, and you choose, I'm going to bail out water or I'm going to fix the mast. But you also are pirates and you want to get away with treasure. So there's other options of steal treasure. So you could say, yeah, I'm bailing out water this round. We're good. Don't even worry about it. And then you choose treasure instead.
So it's semi-cooperative.
Exactly. It's cooperative until it isn't.
So what you're saying is after Michael and I play this, we won't have a podcast anymore.
So we'll no longer talk to each other. Doug and I are talking to each other for about 40 days. He didn't like that I took the treasure. I was bailing out water.
And Michael would be the
treasure.
one taking the treasure. That is for certain.
That's the objective.
Now, here's the thing. If you spend
Doug would do it too, but he would act like he didn't do it. All right, now back to you. Just want to be clear about that. He's just as diabolical.
Now, here's the thing. If too many people are taking treasure and the ship sinks, then the person with the least amount of treasure wins because they're the only one who can swim away.
I'm the real helper, Michael.
There you go. There's babyface Doug getting away while I'm sinking. That's good stuff. So that's We're Sinking. That's a Gen Con release. That's exciting.
Yeah. And then we're also going to have a game called Temple Code. And a way I describe this one is it's like Hanabi meets Mastermind.
I'm excited about this one. I've heard about this one for a while. Go ahead. Tell everyone about Temple Code.
The first time I played this game, I went, oh my God, this is so cool. So it's competitive deduction, which is something I didn't think was possible, but I love it. So you're going to have a card in front of you that you can't see, but everyone else can, and it has 3 symbols on it. And everyone else has their own card. So you see what everyone else has and you don't see what you have. And then there's also a card on the table that everybody can see. Everybody has a card in front of them. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick up those cards in front of you. There's 2 cards. I misspoke. 2 cards in front of you, and then 1 card that is kind of in a stand so that you can't see your specific card. I'm going to say the word card too many times. Feel free to clear this up for me.
No, go ahead. You're great. We say cards and meeples all the time on this show.
All the time.
People
That's
are
all
used
we
to
do. Cards and meeples. That's a good name for a show. So you have your 2 cards in front of you. You're going to pick one that you want to keep and one that you want to give to somebody else. And then the really cool thing about this game is that they've done the math or figuring out on the back of the cards. There is a little line and an arrow that lines up that tells you exactly what yours matches. So for instance, I could say, oh, I have 1 symbol that's on that card, but it's in the wrong place. And I don't know what's in front of me, but I know what's on the card I was given. So I know I've got the red, the green, and the yellow, just to make life easy. So, okay, could be the red, could be the green, could be the yellow. I have it on mine and it's in the wrong place. So I mark that down. And then when I do another one that has, say, red, yellow, and purple, it says you have 1 right and it's in the right place. Okay, so now I know it's not purple. It means I don't have purple on my card at all, but I could have red or yellow. Where was the place the last time? So you have to remember it. But you're also thinking, why did they give me that card? Because what you don't know is just as important as what you do know.
Mm-hmm.
So why would they give me that card and not the other card? Why would they take that card for themselves? So there's a lot of figuring out why people are doing what they're doing and trying to read between the lines and just figure out what's on your card. Because if you guess wrong, you throw the card away and you start all over again.
And then what's the thematic tie-in with the temple? Isn't
Yeah,
there?
so you're basically treasure hunters in a temple. So the little symbols are these cute structures. So you have like an axolotl and you have a cute penguin, and there's one that's like a fire god. So they're all different. What is the word? What's the word for like a statuette? There it is. So I was like, that scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark, and he's got the bag of gold, and what is that called? It's a statuette.
Monkey brains.
That's also a good name for a game. Monkey brains. We're working here. So you're basically exploring this hidden temple, and you have to figure out the right code to get your particular statuettes and get out before everybody else does.
So these are the people before they get on the pirate boat. They get their treasure. Your games are thematically tied to one another.
I'm trying to imagine a game night where you start with temple code and now you're already like mad at each other, and then you go into we're sinking and you're like, I don't believe a darn word you just said because you gave me the wrong information the whole time. You were keeping me from finding this out. I don't believe you. You're not bailing out. You're definitely taking treasure.
Go to the temple.
Sounds like a delightful night of treachery.
I love that. A delightful night of treachery. That's how we're going to market the double game experience.
There you go.
No, that one looks cool. I'm excited about that with just the deduction, and I'm usually not a fan of like the Hanabi style, but this with it almost is like that Wordle combination of solving puzzles that I appreciate, as opposed to just looking around the table and being like, oh, you have 2 of this. Like, I like that code deduction part. Yeah,
that's such a good point. Wordle's a great way to describe it as well. It's a hard game to describe when you don't have it in front of you because the artwork on the cards is so impressive. The way that they figure out how to tell you, no matter what card you choose, it can tell you exactly what you do or don't have on your card. So when you listen to this podcast, just look it up. I'm telling you, it's really cool.
There's a lot of smart people out there.
Yep.
That can figure that stuff out.
I'm not one of them.
Me
I'm
neither.
smart enough to learn it and teach it, and that's
there you go. But we all of our strengths matter. So being able to learn it and teach it and tell people about it, that's what gets games catapulted into awards and everything else. You guys have a big year coming up. Is there any other games or anything that you think people should know about?
Well, we have, so Critter Kitchen and Potions of Azurland are both up right now for UK Games Expo Awards. And as of yesterday, we have Andromeda's Edge and Unconscious Mind were both nominated for Heavy Game of the Year for the Golden Geek Awards.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, those are not quite this podcast style. Those are 2 very heavy games, hence Heavy Game of the Year. They're a little too heavy for me too, especially Unconscious Mind. But they're both beautiful games.
Yep.
Massive table presence and so thematic. Unconscious Mind, you're playing as members of Freud's Wednesday Society. You're diagnosing dreams, you're drinking a lot of coffee, and there's so many moving parts to it. It's absolutely beautiful and very intimidating to like look at, but really fun to play. And Andromeda's Edge, you are in space and you are trying to colonize new areas while avoiding space raiders and, working with or against other different factions in the galaxy by the other players. So that one has an intimidating table presence, but once you start playing, you go, okay, I got this. I see what's happening.
Once you start playing, you have officially lost a day and a half of your life because you are taken into a different solar system, and Luke Laurie, Maximus Laurie, and Peter Vaughn just gobbled up time that you didn't know. So I've truly lost days of my life already off of Andromeda's Edge and love it. That is an awesome game. And a friend of ours who's in our game group and we've had on the show before actually designed the insert for Unconscious Mind. So that's one that Doug and I have heard a lot about over the last, I'd say 2 to 3+ years, just through. So the hobby is small. It really is, and we appreciate you coming on here. And Potions of Azurland, we also had as a game of the week just in episode 211. So you guys have some great things happening.
Yeah, I listened to that podcast while I was doing my laundry because my laundry machine broke, so I had to go to a laundromat. So I'm listening to that and get my laundry done. It was great. I really enjoyed that
Making
podcast.
sure that we're credible and not going to get you in trouble, huh? That's good. Way to do your research, Risa.
Yeah,
that was
there you
good.
go.
That was good.
There you go. No, you guys check out. You're good.
All right. Thank you so much for spending some time with us, Risa, and telling us about some awesome games coming out. We really appreciate it.
Oh, anytime. I had an absolute blast. Thank you so much for having me.
Every week, Michael and I highlight a list of games we want to play, enjoy, or spread the word about. And everybody loves lists, so we're going to be talking about our high five games set in ancient times. I had a ton for this one, Michael. It was very difficult to get down to 5 for me. And I'm hoping some of the ones that aren't on my list may show up on yours.
Yeah,
that were in my honorable
I had the
mentions.
same hope. And at one point, I looked at my list and I said, these aren't the 5 Reiner Knizia games designed in ancient times. So I had to scratch about 3 of them off my list and push them all into the 6th spot. I think great games on the list, but you and I have also played a lot of these games together.
Sure.
When I look at my list, I was like, I think I've only played one of these without Doug before. So definitely a theme that has brought both of us back to the same table. That's for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. What do you got at number 5?
Any caveats for you?
There was, as I was going through the list, there was ones that, which I'll just say, a game like Thebes, which is more about kind of archaeology, and you're uncovering stuff from ancient times, but you're not actually in ancient times. So I kind of ruled those out because they do have, they share a similar theming where you are talking about ancient Rome and ancient Egypt and things like that, but you're not actually portraying somebody from that time period. So I tried to keep all of mine in that kind of world, that you're in that world as opposed to looking back on it or observing it.
That's
Any for
cool.
you?
Just that all 5 couldn't be from Dr. Reiner Knizia.
Okay.
And then, there'll be some repeats, ones that we've talked about. But for me, I did have a pretty clear line at 5.
Sure.
Jumping right in, number 5 for me is designed by Glenn Drover, and that's Mosaic, a story of civilization. And when Doug and I were fortunate to get a demo from the designer of this game, his big pitch was, this is a full civilization game that plays in 2 hours or less. And if anyone has ever gotten a demo from Glenn Drover, he is a master of the demo. I mean, I left that table just wanting to play that game again. And I think we had to wait a full 1.5 years to actually be able to play it. But in Civilization, you are, building a civilization game. It is an action selection game where you have about 8 different actions that to choose from. And so it's why I really like this, and what I enjoy about it is, what path am I going to meander down at the start of the game? And then it's only about 2 or 3 turns later where it's like, okay, I got to get really good at my path because I'm down this path now. And it's not a 5-hour civilization game. There is a sense of, this game's moving and I've got to do something about it. Would probably be higher on my list, but there's a lot of bits. There's a lot of stuff, and I don't actually own it. My friend Doug does. It is a game that I may pick up and trade eventually because I really do like it and I want to go back and explore it more and more. So that's number 5 for me, is Mosaic, a story of civilization.
All right. Great choice there. My number 5 is came out in 2007 from Days of Wonder. It is going to be republished by Fantasia Games at some point in the future, and that is Colosseum from designers Wolfgang Kramer and Markus Lübke. Colosseum is about putting a show on in the Colosseum, and you're basically getting performers, whether it's actors or animals or gladiators, and putting on these shows. You get these little, essentially kind of like scripts or productions, and you're trying to fill them up with the right actors and people to put the show on. But what I like about this is it's very similar to a game that we had as a game of the week, First in Flight, which you're kind of only based on your highest score. So you can put on a production in the first round and maybe you get 12 points. In the second round, maybe you put on a production, you only get 8 points. You're still at 12 points. You're based on whatever your best production is. And that's a scoring mechanism that I really like, because you're always working towards something better. You're trying to beat your own score as well as other folks. And so there was a TMG release of this that came out, and I think it was kind of universally panned because everybody loved the Days of Wonder version so much of the art. There's a lot of sentimentality to that one. So we'll see what happens with the Fantasia Games one. I know they're working with the designers to streamline it, and they are going to have the original rules in the game as well. So looking forward to seeing what happens with that one. But that's my number 5, Colosseum.
Awesome. Any timeline on when that's coming out? Is it 20?
No, I look, they still have like a preview on GameFound of just like it's eventually coming on GameFound, but nothing concrete.
It hasn't even crowdfunded yet.
No, not yet.
Oh.
So I imagine with the current situation that may be extended further.
Yeah, well, then I look forward to playing your Days of Wonder version at some point.
There you go.
Awesome. One I haven't played yet, one I really want to play. Number 4 is one that I've played. It's one that I've played with you, Doug, because it was Game of the Week back in episode 128, and that is Acropolis. Crossover, or can I go full?
Nope,
full
go.
On? Okay.
Go full blown. That was one
Awesome.
of my honorable mentions.
Yeah, great. Acropolis is designed by Jules Massad, and art is Paul Detraz, and Gigamik publishes that game. You can get it over at Hachette if you want to go get it right now. It's always on sale and always a good deal. You could also play it on Board Game Arena, but in Acropolis, you're placing tiles, and then you're going to trigger, certain abilities and combos, and there's a draft in there. There's a whole lot of things going up, but here's what I really love about the game. The game layers up. And so you are incentivized to build your tiles on top of each other. But the scoring, you can't just go for the tallest one wins, because you also have to be balanced as you build out. Now, it's abstract. Is there an ancient theme? No. Is this a stretch for me? Yes. Do I love the game? Absolutely. I wish I played it more. It was a 2023 Spiel des Jahres recommended. A game that I have, a game that also has an expansion that adds a new type of tile to it, and a game where no two games will ever play the same, because the how the draft comes out and the puzzly nature of do I find myself with more military tiles compared to more garden tiles, or barracks, what they call them in the game. So number 4 for me is Acropolis. And if you want to hear more about it, go listen to episode 128, where we probably talked for about 40 minutes, because that's a game that we absolutely love.
Great pick there. My number 4, speaking more on the somewhat abstract lens, but we talked about this one in episode 153, and that is World Wonders. From Arcane Wonders, published in 2023, and designer Z. Mendez. And this is just a great game of putting out buildings and then eventually adding wonders on your player board. What I really like about this game is you have a set number of action points, and whenever you want to take a wonder each round, you are forfeiting the rest of your action points. So trying to line that up right, so you're not overpaying but not waiting too long so somebody else can't scoop in and take the wonder that you're both close to competing on, is a really fun puzzle, and competing on that around the table and watching what everybody's doing is really cool. So that is my number 4, World Wonders.
And that's my number 3. The only thing that I'll add in, I love that it plays in an hour. I mean,
Yeah.
it does feel like the game is the main event. I also really enjoy how the economy and the purchasing works in the game, as Doug mentioned. It's just fantastic to get. I can buy a few different little things, or I'll just go get this one big thing, and that's my turn. And
Yeah.
then while other people are taking their turn, I'm now trying to place what I just selected, and then it's my turn again.
Yeah.
And that cycle just is wonderful.
Awesome. All right. My number 3, Michael already mentioned, and that was Mosaic, A Story of Civilization, from Glenn Drover. And what I like about this game is it's a very much there are bits on the board. There are pieces that you're spreading out, but and the heart of this game is a lot of card play and kind of building up your different categories as you acquire more cards, you get more icons, and those icons allow you to do more and more powerful things. And I just like that escalation as it grows, and it feels like you can start doing powerful things really quickly, where a lot of times it's like, all right, I've got a whole bunch of turns where I'm not really doing exciting stuff. This one seems like, and now I can do this more powerful thing, and now I can do this, which is even more powerful. And you just really feel like you're, the king of a civilization, just expanding and growing. So that is my number 3, Mosaic, A Story of Civilization.
Awesome. Yeah, my number 2 is Yellow and Yangtze, designed by Dr. Reiner Knizia. There's a few different, so I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. Yellow and Yangtze, designed by Reiner Knizia, art by Vincent Dutrait, published by Grail Games. I'll just leave it at that because it was recently re-implemented by a game called Huang, Huang. And folks, little did I know, they are the exact same game. If I would have known that, I probably would not have backed Huang because I had Yellow and Yangtze. But so in Yellow and Yangtze, Huang, and Yellow and Yangtze builds off a game called Tigris and Euphrates. And why Tigris and Euphrates is not number 2 on my list is because I haven't played it yet. It's a game that's been out of print for a long time. Yellow and Yangtze has a fantastic app as well that you can go out and play. But what are you doing in the game? You're building out a civilization through tile placement. So there are 5 different leaders. You have governors, soldiers, farmers, traders, and artisans, and they all collect points in slightly different ways. But what the crux of the game comes down to, and I was looking for the exact wording on Board Game Geek, so I didn't butcher this. There we go. What it comes down to at the end of the game, you're going to score victory points based on the leader that you have the fewest of, the least of. So there's that sense of I must stay balanced as I go throughout the game. And I played this at a convention this past fall. It was a 4-player game, and I'm looking across the table like, yeah, buddy, you clearly are winning the soldier battle, but you don't have a single artisan. Like, do you realize you're going to be 0 at the end of the game? I thought I taught that, but I must not have taught that very well. And so ultimately what happens in Yellow and Yangtze in a multiplayer game, somebody will race out in one area, but when you do that, you've got to make sure that you're collecting a few points in some of the other areas. Mean game, competitive game, and one that I really enjoy.
All right. That I think Tigris and Euphrates might have been one of the first ones that the good doctor did that with the lowest points winning or being your score at the end of the game. So cool choice there. My number 2 is Korra, Rise of an Empire, published in 2021 by Yellow and designed by the Headquarters Simulation Game Club. This one has kind of disappeared, did not get a lot of fanfare, but I really enjoyed this one, and it is one where you're moving up tracks, but you're doing that by rolling dice, and the dice are determining which actions you're going to take that round. And there's a little bit of mitigation. You can spend different resources and things to change that. And I just really loved that gameplay of sometimes you want low dice, sometimes you want high dice, and trying to get the actions that you want to take and working with the ones that you got and how you can make them work out, I think is really cool. The artwork is nice on the cards, and just a really fun. If you love going up tracks, this is without a lot of complexity. I think this is a really good game for that. So that's my number 2, Korra: Rise of an Empire.
Yeah, that is an awesome pick, and one that, might find its way into a Spotlight episode down the road at some point, because we both really enjoy that one. Possibly. You never know.
Possibly, yeah.
Number 1 for me, I'm going to get some, dear listeners, there will be some derision thrown my way from Doug. So I'm prepared for it, okay? Because whenever I talk about
my number 1
this
honorable
game,
mention.
My number 1 is Foundations of Rome.
All right, that's my number 1 honorable mention.
Okay, I love this game. I am going to save a lot of what I want to say about this game for a future episode. Let me just scan my run sheet, because I thought
next week.
Yeah, next week. So I've got it number 1 here. I'll say a lot about it next week. And that's my number 1 ancient civilization game.
All right. My number 1 is easy choice for me. I wish I had more people to play it with, and that is Seven Wonders, the second edition. Came out in 2010, the original edition, repost production, designer Antoine Bauza. And when we were talking about Cat Lady earlier, this is a game that fits that perfect drafting paradigm for me, which is I want to take every card that's in my hand right now, but I can only take one. And the next, your next hand gets passed to you, and it's like, these are all great options, and I want all of them. And you kind of meander your way and find a path that you're going on. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes you get the cards that you want, but the second edition really upped the artwork, in my opinion, and just the feel of the game feels a little bit more
Did it
regal.
change any of the gameplay or no?
I don't think so. Maybe maybe there might be some different symbol or something on one or two cards, but essentially everything's the same. They kind of cleaned up the graphic design as far as iconography and things like that, and the artwork was changed as well. So it's a lot cleaner, looks a lot better. And just gets me, when you're picking between whether you want to add a barracks or an aqueduct or, a trading market, and the artwork is all in that ancient Egypt Roman theme. It all kind of puts you in that spirit. So that's my number 1, Seven Wonders.
Awesome.
I'll just rattle off my honorable mentions. I had Foundations of Rome, Fall of Rome, which is a pandemic version. Acropolis was on my short list. Elysium and Rise of Augustus was on my short list. How about you?
Yeah, I had Ra. It was Ra or Yellow or Yangtze that I was going to put in that slot, and I went with Yellow and Yangtze.
Awesome. All right, well, let us know in the Discord or in the comments on YouTube what ancient themed games that you love and enjoy, which ones we missed, which ones you would put at the top. We'd love to hear that. Subscribe to the podcast. Follow us on X at GameSchoolerU. And again, subscribe and like the videos on YouTube. We appreciate that. Our Discord, gameschooler.com/Discord, is available to join, and we'd love to have you there. Next week, we're going to be talking about Foundations of Metropolis, A Gentle Rain, various setups, and a high five of some sort that got cut off of my notes. We're going to be talking about abstract games. We haven't done that since somewhere in the 30s, so that's about 210 episodes ago. Or
played a few games since then.
Yeah. So thank you so much for spending the last hour or so with us. We truly appreciate it.
Now get out there and keep gaming.